make it in the world. And my motivation was that in 1938, the last full year before the war in Europe, Estonia and Finland had the same GDP per capita. When we became independent in 1991, Finland had a GDP per capita 13 times, 13 times higher than in Estonia. So clearly, communism didn't really work with us. And so what I proposed then was putting all Estonian schools online, and that worked. That was done by 98, 99. And the idea of that was that we just get children using computers. Mm-hmm. Later on, in the same period, the became clear that we set up, every school had a computer lab, but we opened these up to people, so other people got to learn to use it. But all that was just the beginning and the groundwork for getting people used to a digital society. I mean, there are certain key issues that you have to solve. You have to have, in order to have any kind of secure communications that would provide services, you need a digital identity. Mm-hmm. And so we created a digital identity for we made it mandatory because if you don't have, I mean, this is behavioral economics. If you provide a digital identity, and we've seen in most countries in Europe that do, I mean, they all offer it now, but if it's voluntary, you only get about 15 to 20% of the population, getting themselves a card or a mobile digital identity. But if you make it mandatory, or if you don't, it's not mandatory, then the public sector will not spend the effort to develop services. And the private sector also will not. We started developing digital services. So first was taxes. That was simple, that was easy, and it was very popular because the government, of course, would always like to have efficient things for them to work better, but for it to work, you need to offer services to the people that they like. So we have, for example, digital prescriptions, which mean that if you go see a doctor, he writes your prescription into a computer system, then you can go to any pharmacy in the country and take it out. Then it becomes even more useful when you have to renew your prescription, because you don't have to go back to the doctor to get a piece of paper, but you just call him up or write him an email and he will do it. And so basically we've gone through all of these services, developed them to the point where there are only 3 interactions with the state that you still have to do physically, in person. The first one is getting married, so you have to do that. The second one is a transfer of immovable property, meaning if you want to sell a house, you have to show up and do it with the notary. And the third one, of course, aside from marriage, is divorce. You have to show up to do it.
What should be the main objective of a head of state during this new era?
I don't know. I was pretty weird. So
Why?
Well, I'm
You made it great.
I'm 63 years old, and I learned how to program computers when I was 14. So I've never been afraid of technology. And the problem we have in many countries is that the people who have political power do not understand technology at all. And so I would say, I don't know if it's an objective, but it would be very good if people in politics would learn more about science and digitization. That would help a lot.
Why?
Because then they know what they're talking about. I mean, the problem is that I have 2 problems. When I talk to technologists, they don't understand enough about democracy and what you should be what you are allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And when I talk to politicians, they often do not understand at all what technology can do or what it can't do. So both sides need to study the sort of technology people need to study political philosophy and the basis of democracy and privacy. And the people in politics need to understand more about technology and what you can do and what also you should not allow happen. You know, I mean, I'll give you a good example. Right now in the United States, it turns out that these big companies like Facebook simply ignored and did not pay attention to government regulations about political advertising. I mean, they allowed political advertising without saying who was doing the political advertising, who was paying for it, how much was paid for it. I mean, you have to do that for television advertising and radio advertising. And the U.S. Election Commission said that online you have to do the same, but they simply ignored it. So I think it's the whole issue of the state and or of politics and IT. Both sides need to understand much better what is going on.